In the last couple of verses of John's Gospel, he makes an amazing claim to the ministry of Jesus. First of all, he claims to be a first-hand witness of the events that he has written about. And secondly, he clearly indicates that the miracles in the ministry of Jesus go far beyond the words recorded in the four Gospels. This disciple is the one who testifies to these events and has recorded them here, and we know that his account of these things is accurate. Jesus also did many other things. If they were all written down, I suppose the whole world could not contain the books that would be written. Consequently, we must come to the conclusion that the writers of the Gospel, including John, were highly selective in what they recorded, and no doubt the miracles may well have run into the thousands or even hundreds of thousands. Given that fact, the inclusion by John of Jesus' miracle of turning water into wine is no doubt intentional. And if that is so, why was it included, and why does it appear first to introduce his public ministry? After all, in comparison to many of the other more spectacular miracles, this one appears to be not all that consequential. It would have seemed more logical to introduce the public ministry of Jesus with something spectacular like the resurrection of Lazarus or the healing of the 10 lepers. However, John chooses this particular miracle, and we cannot help but feel he has a definitive reason for giving it a predominant place. Biblical scholars believe that the Gospel of John is structured around 7 signs, and these 7 signs will progressively reveal the true identity and mission of Jesus. The water to wine at the wedding at Cana sets the stage for those other miracles that are to come with the ultimate miracle of his resurrection. John uses the terminology of signs rather than that of miracles because they are indicators or signposts that point to that which is to come, the revelation of Jesus' divinity and his mission. Just as he turns one of the planet's greatest resources, water, into quality wine, there is the indicator that what Jesus is about is the transformation of humanity. Walking daily in his presence, hearing truth that makes us free, we can trust his word unchanging. Transformation comes to be.
next day, there was a wedding celebration in the village of Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples were also invited to the celebration. The wine supply ran out during the festivities, so Jesus' mother told him, "They have no more wine." "Dear woman, that's not our problem," Jesus replied. "My time has not yet come." But his mother told the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Standing nearby were 6 stone water jars, used for Jewish ceremonial washing. Each could hold 20 to 30 gallons. Jesus told the servants, "Fill the jars with water." When the jars had been filled, he said, "Now dip some out, and take it to the master of ceremonies." So the servants followed his instructions. When the master of ceremonies tasted the water that was now wine, not knowing where it had come from, though, of course, the servants knew, he called the bridegroom over. "A host always serves the best wine first," he said. "Then, when everyone has had a lot to drink, he brings out the less expensive wine. But you have kept the best until now." This miraculous sign at Cana in Galilee was the first time Jesus revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. After the wedding, he went to Capernaum for a few days with his mother, his brothers, and his disciples.
Leaving aside the more intricate theology of this passage of Scripture, what does it have to say to us here today in the 21st century? When John sat down to write his Gospel, he no doubt wanted to impart to his readers something of what he had experienced, living every day, every moment in the presence of Jesus. If we stop and think about that for a while, we come to realize that for 3 years John has shared the very presence of God 24/7 in the person of Jesus, the Son of God. He had the constant reality of God in his life at every moment of the day, and it may well be that he is trying to impart to us the fact that God is present in sometimes the most basic and fundamental parts of our lives. Those of you who are regular viewers of my video presentations well know I have spoken about prayer as an ongoing conversation with God, something that becomes mainstream in our day-to-day living. One of the challenges of humanity is that all too often we try to lock God into specific areas and times of life, those activities we intentionally engage in, like our regular morning devotion or our attendance at Sunday worship. These activities are necessary and helpful. However, the danger often is that our engagement with God seems to be mainly in these activities rather than a sense of his awareness in our day-to-day, minute-by-minute living. I think it may well be that John is trying to tell us that we need to develop a sense of God's presence in the routines of life with all its challenges. After all, running out of wine wasn't a matter of life or death, it was just a wedding necessity. Jesus' concern for our spiritual needs are mirrored in his compassion for our everyday issues, as demonstrated by this miracle. It highlights that the seemingly trivial, the problem of running out of wine at a wedding celebration, can become part and parcel of our engagement with God. Jesus is all the world to me, my life, my joy, my all. He is my strength from day to day. Without him, I would fall. When I am sad, to him I go. No other one can cheer me so. When I'm sad, he makes me glad. He's my friend.
Jesus is all the world to me, my life, my joy, my all. He is my strength from day to day. Without him I would fall. When I am sad, to him I go. No other one can cheer me so. When I am sad, he makes me glad. He's my friend. Jesus is all the world to me, and true to him I'll be. Oh, how could I this friend deny when he's so true to me? Following him, I know I'm right. He watches for me day and night. Following him by day and night. He's my friend. Jesus is all the world to me. I want no better friend. I trust him now. I'll trust him when life's sweet day shall end. Beautiful life with such a friend. Beautiful life that has no end. Eternal life, eternal joy. He's my
In his book, The Practice of the Presence of God, Brother Lawrence, a 17th century Carmelite monk, writes about cultivating an awareness of God's presence in everyday life. He contends that we don't need to retreat to a monastery or some spiritual retreat to experience God, but can do so in every moment, even during mundane tasks like cooking and cleaning. He maintains that our spiritual life should not be complicated. Instead, we can practice God's presence through love and constant informal conversations with him. In the title of his book, Brother Lawrence gives us a definitive clue to how we can establish and maintain this continual sense of God's presence. The use of the word practice clearly indicates that this is a basis. Anyone who has learnt to play a musical instrument will well know that practice is something we intentionally engage in cognitively and emotionally. It is not some sort of automatic process, but rather something we consciously decide on and pursue. If we are to experience God's presence on a 24/7 basis, then we have to consciously and intentionally develop this activity. It may well seem initially to be somewhat artificial or constructed. However, as we develop this activity, it starts to become part and parcel of our own personality and our relationship with God, to the point where it becomes very much part of who we are and how we live. The songwriter of that immortal hymn, Abide With Me, catches the essence of this when he writes, I need thy presence every passing hour. What but thy grace can foil the tempter's power? Who like thyself my guide and strength can be? Through cloud and sunshine, Lord, abide with me.
Abide with me, last was the eventide.
For Mary to bring this problem straight to Jesus would indicate that she had some insight into not only who he was, but the powers he possessed. Even though Jesus initially responds that his hour has not come, Mary trusts that he will act in his own way and his own timing. She doesn't demand a particular solution. She simply trusts Jesus to do what is best. All too often when we come to God with a problem, we have a preconceived idea of how he should resolve it for us. Consequently, there is a sense on which this can blindside us to the answer God is going to send. Whenever we come before God with a problem, we need to come with a completely open mind, believing, as did Mary, that he will simply do what is best for us. The reality is that God's understanding and perception of our problems are far beyond human understanding and conception, for he sees the end from the beginning. In his preface to what we call the Lord's Prayer, Jesus makes it abundantly clear that God is totally aware of our needs even before we ask him. Divine vision enables him to see the whole panorama of our lives and know exactly what is needed and when it is needed. When you pray, don't babble on and on as the Gentiles do. They think their prayers are answered merely by repeating their words again and again. Don't be like them, for your Father knows exactly what you need even before you ask him. I suspect that for many of us, during our Christian pilgrimage, God's will may not seem to make logical common sense from a human perspective, such as filling water jars with water when it was wine that was needed. But the matter in question here is not human common sense, but implicit obedience. The answer came not because filling water jars with water made sense in that situation, but rather transformation and breakthrough comes through the act of trust and obedience. It may seem at times that God is dilatory or tardy, but his answer is always the right answer at the right time. Implicit in this miracle is the essence of what Jesus is really all about, the act of transformation. Right throughout his ministry, we see this act of transformation being accomplished in people's lives in many ways, time and time again. The reality is that the only way sinful humanity can once again connect with the Creator God is through an act of inner transformation enacted through the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. There is no other way. Even if we miss out on some of the truths and theological realities present in this miracle, even if we do not understand such a miracle can take place, even if it's beyond our human comprehension, there is one lesson we must implicitly take on board: the power of transformation that flows from this man, Jesus Christ. Down through the ages, one of the great tragedies of the church is that all too often it has got itself sidetracked from the central issue of transformation. Wherever we read of the ministry of Jesus in the New Testament, we see graphically illustrated transforming power, whether it be healing, resurrection, or transforming the temple of God back into a house of prayer. The Church of Jesus Christ is at its most authentic when it is proclaiming the message of transformation. opening verses of the second chapter of John's Gospel, he gives us this miracle or sign that points to the ministry that will unfold for Jesus. In the final analysis, everything he is outlining here comes down to that which is transformed: water to wine, sinner to saint. In his great creedal song, the late General John Gowans outlines our beliefs, and in the second verse zeroes in on that which is at the heart of all evangelical churches. I believe in transformation. God can change the hearts of men and refine the evil nature till it glows with grace again. Others may reject the weakling. I believe he can be strong. To the family of Jesus, all God's children may belong.